I look at you and I think to myself, or I listen to you and I think to myself, these wounds have just become your badge of resilience, and because you've done so much with them, whatever was there to percolate and say, okay, I'm going to find out this, and I'm going to be normal, and I'm going to school, and I'm going to understand my blackness, and I'm going to look into the history of it. That's the journey the universe gave you, but I understand it being tough, and especially when you don't have friends or some family member that you can go to, even if you were their natural child, and you don't have someone to talk to and say, what is, I don't really understand this, I think culturally a lot of us go through that, where we can't go to our parents, whether you're a foster child, adoptee, or natural born child, don't go to their parents. I'm so not happy to hear you say that, but I so appreciate you sharing that with us. Now I want to talk about, you talked about, because I listened to an interview you had, and you talked about hair in your book.
Yes.
And I've forgotten the name of the book. Can you?
It's this one. It's for Black girls like me. It's my first book.
Her first book, For Black Girls Like Me. And you talked about your hair journey, so you can.
Hair journey, yeah.
Yeah, the hair journey. And I thought the first thing that came to my head was India Irie's I Am Not My Hair.
That. Yeah, I Am Not My Hair. I also that's another album that I clung to as a young person, as far as connection to identity and blackness and beauty of Black women. And I very much have a soft spot in my heart for India Arie, who got me through some young adult years, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how did your mom take it? How did you take care of your hair? Did your mom know how to take care of your hair, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, so for me personally, and I'll talk about the book a little bit, and that the scene that's in the book. For me personally, hair, especially growing up, was always kind of a complicated struggle.
Yeah.
I did not grow up in the age of YouTube, and so my mom did not have the ability to get on YouTube and Google, how to maintain my daughter's hair, or to go on TikTok, or all these avenues that we have right now. If you're not connected to Black community in a way or community who knows how to do very textured and curly hair, you're kind of working with what you have. So, for a while, I do remember going to get my hair braided a couple times by a Black woman, as a very young person. And then I had my hair just sort of in a teeny weeny afro. And I just remember, I'm very tender headed, which is not uncommon, but my mom struggling to do it, and also feeling like at certain points it just got too much. And so the deal would be to cut it off. I had very short hair as a kid. And sometimes people thought I was a boy, but maybe that was just sort of the 80s gender neutral.
Well, you're in some ways you're lucky you were even born then, because my generation, I had hot combs. I don't know if you know what a hot comb, and my mother, you would always pull the burn on your ear and the burn on your neck, and we wouldn't go in the swimming pool because we didn't want our hair to go back.
Understood.
Go back.
But this this is such a Black hair. There's so much history, and it's so personal too. And and there are core memories, I feel associated with it. And so, no, I did not have the hot comb experience. I had my hair, in many batches of dreadlocks. This is a batch I actually chose. My mom chose to lock my hair very early, but it wasn't something I chose, and so I struggled with it. And then I cut my hair off in 8th grade, and so I think I had a lot of identity stuff around hair. But I will say that when I got to high school, again, this was like, I'm going to be a normal teen. I got the courage to ask my mom if we could go to a salon, or
Mm-hmm.
go to a black care salon in the city we lived in. And so for high school, I had one woman, Nikita, who I would go to, for special occasions. So all the school dances I went to, I would go and she would do beautiful updos with my locks.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I just loved was being in that space. Like I
Mm-hmm.
loved when my white mom would drop me off, don't come in with
Mm-hmm.
me, and let me go
Mm-hmm.
sit in this space full of black women and black people to get my
Mm-hmm.
hair done. And there was
Mm-hmm.
something, and I felt nervous in that space too, because it was probably one of the only spaces where I was around black people in in like
Mm-hmm.
that capacity. So I
And
both loved
listening
it
to how they
and
talk,
listening
and listen, there's, where the flamboyance and girl, and it's a whole,
and
like
the
the
love
barber
and
shop.
yeah, yeah. So, but I was also often nervous, like they're going to see I'm an imposter, which was not true.
Yes,
Never,
of
but like
course, yeah.
some nervousness because I mean, I did have kids, at least kids, a lot of, well, actually sometimes adults too, but kids say like, well, you're not really black, right? You don't talk like a black person. You're not, I've never met a black girl like you. So there were a lot of ways growing up where I was told, yeah, but you're not really, right?
Mm.
And that was actually by a various different races. It wasn't always by white children or white
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes by black people, brown people. But I loved going into that space.
Hmm.
As a young adult, as a high schooler, and
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
so different.
leaving behind, you know,
That
the
coat.
that coat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for Nikita, who started many of my locks and did a lot of my hair. And that friend I talked about, who I met in high school, who was also an adoptee, she was adopted from the Dominican Republic. She also became a really important person, and we would go, we would get our hair done for uh, dances and uh,
Yeah.
talk about that as well. And so that
When
was
you
really
put it
fun.
in the book, when you talked about it
Yeah.
in the book and doing the research on it,
Yeah.
really trying to understand it. So is that what made you do it? Because it was such an important
Yeah, I think hair
point?
I think hair even today with YouTube and organizations that specifically work with adoptive parents to help with their hair and skin care of their,
Yes.
black child. I think that's more
Yes.
accessible and prevalent now, but
Yes.
it's still an issue. And there's sometimes a lingering thing where like, oh, but that hair is so difficult. And if you go in thinking that your black child's hair is difficult, they're going to feel that, even if you don't say it directly to them, versus like, how do we best take care of the hair that you have that's beautiful, but it is very different than mine and different to take care of.
But
So
we even want to teach ourselves, I think,
yeah,
that hair is
it's,
beautiful because
yeah,
we're still struggling
we're still struggling with good hair and
with
bad
good
hair.
hair, bad
Yeah.
hair, good hair,
Yeah.
what all of that is. And certainly I understand when I said the hot comb and not why did we do the hot comb? So it was easier. And we all wanted to represent flowing hair. We didn't have flowing hair,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
We want it.
we,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I mean,
wanted
I
that.
wanted my sister, who's my parents' biological child, who was born 2.5 years after I was adopted.
Uh-huh.
She'll probably, I cut her hair when we were kids, probably because I was jealous, of
Mm,
it.
mm-hmm,
And also,
mm-hmm.
I used to put a towel on my head and pretend that I had like long flowing hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I put
You know,
bloomers on mine.
yeah. Yeah, so it's complicated. Like it's both.
Yes.
I've learned I love my hair. I love my locks.
Yes, yes,
Love
yes.
doing protective styles, all that stuff. I've learned that now, but as a
Mm-hmm.
growing up, it was a lot of trying things on and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
comparison and a lot of, well, if my hair looks like this, it would be easier. And it's also only become slightly more acceptable to have locks. Like, there's
And
in work.
at a job, if you're yes, at a
Yeah.
workplace, if you're
So
applying for a job. Mm,
yeah, so
yeah.
there's all these layers to it, but I think it's very personal, and there's something
Yes.
though, no matter how you decide to do your hair as a black
Mm-hmm.
person, that
Mm-hmm.
there's an element of community and history and resilience,
Yes.
and learning how to fit in when you need to, and how to, show off in certain, like, so I wanted to include a section about hair and this young adopted girl who's not me, but, based on some of my experience about her advocating for her hair and, about her mom sort of giving up the control of being able to fully understand it and saying, let's go find, uh, you know, people who are more experts on this. And I actually wrote that chapter almost. I don't write in order. I wrote that chapter towards the end of the project, and I actually had to have a conversation with my wife, my partner, to ask her about some terms that I just didn't know about certain hairstyles that you might get in a black hair care salon.
For instance?
Uh, and since the book come out, I mean, it's a chapter that people ask me about. It's a chapter that kids ask me to read when I go and do school visits. I sometimes say, "Oh, I can read a part I like, but is there a part you want to hear me read out loud?" And they've asked for that chapter a lot. Um, and I think it's not only relevant to the adoptee experience. I think there are
Yes,
lots of
yes.
young people, Black people, mixed young individuals who also can identify something there too. So, yeah, so I wanted to include it, but it was also kind of an emotional chapter to write. And also important because it is such an important part of the adoptee experience. I have friends, adoptee friends, who said my mom just cut it off because she told me she didn't want to deal with it. Or
Can't deal with it. Yeah.
yeah, so what do you do with that pain and that grief and that dismissal? How do you form a positive view of yourself if all your life, maybe someone thought they were doing the right thing, but all your life you were told like it's just too difficult to deal with. Like we're just
Well,
gonna
I've heard them doing that in schools. I don't know
yeah.
how that cutting off locks off of.
Oh, it's
I
those
go.
stories make me
It's just like, what? What are you
yeah.
doing? All right, so let's talk about your books a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I have so many questions to ask you, but your books, because you write for youth. Your intention is for
It's
youth too.
I like to say I write for teens and
Oh,
tweens.
teens.
So I write the technical terms are I write middle grade books, so sort of upper
Uh-huh.
elementary through middle school is the audience, and I also write young adult, which is more high school age characters and audiences. But I also write for adoptees. So even if you're an adult adoptee and you're still working on that inner child stuff, I think a lot of adults have read some of my books and also enjoyed them. And teachers and educators who are looking for books for their classrooms. Yeah.
Well, you talked a little bit before when we had our interview that you being LGBTQ and applying that, putting that into the books because gently. I
Yeah.
think something like that, so people can have the conversation. Well, I guess is it mainly for youth to have the conversation, or for parents to have the conversation? Does it matter or it's just opening up the conversation?
I mean, so I write when I say that I write these stories, I don't cater to write an adult audience. So
Right.
it's less important to me
If
that
an adult
adults
gets it.
understand or they feel like it's for them. It's more important
Right.
to me that young people, youth, feel like these books are for them. But I will also say that I get to interact a lot with teachers, educators, principals, and also librarians who are working within elementary, middle, and high schools. And those individuals are lovely for the most part to interact with because they are craving literature that is more reflective of the population and body of students that they're working with. And they have
Yes.
young people who they want to see, like, oh, you want to see yourself reflected on that cover. So we've come a long way since I was a young person as far as
For sure.
more diverse literature, but we've still got a way to go. And I will also just say in this moment of book banning, which a couple of my books have been challenged in different states, it's
Because of.
because of critical race theory, because they talk about
Oh yes, yes, critical race
about
theory.
race. So all of my books are about young Black girls. Some of them are also LGBTQ Black girls living at multiple intersections of identity. All my books are about young girls finding their joy and their power and their voices, but they're also about the messiness of growing up. And also
Yes.
my books don't shy away from talking about the hard things that young people are facing in an age appropriate way in the world today. So I have
Yeah.
mental health, dealing with
Yeah.
perfectionism and expectations from family members,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
loss of family members, parents, friends, moving away and being the new kid, um, being a kid who wants to make change in the world, but who's also deeply anxious. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've got
Possibilities.
possibilities. So, I've got this is my story about two black girls who go to camp and kind of have a first crush on each other, but also are dealing with the creativity around music and
Mm-hmm.
what is passion? What does it mean to be passionate about something versus just being good at it? And
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism. And then I've got For Black Girls Like Me, which is
Mm-hmm.
about an adoptee girl growing up in a white family who has to move and leave her best friend behind and start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, she's having dreams and questions about where she comes from, but she channels that into singing and songwriting, which I forgot to tell you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then my most recent book, Forever Is Now, is about a 16-year-old girl who is a poet, an activist, deeply cares about her community, and develops a panic disorder called agoraphobia, where she's having a hard time even leaving the space of her house. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about how she leans on her community, her joys, her family to sort of get back to her
Wow.
routine and also
Mm-hmm.
share her voice. And none of these are memoir, but I grew up looking for these types of books on bookshelf.
Yes.
I
I
was an
wish.
avid reader. I
Mm-hmm.
loved the library. I loved
Mm-hmm.
books. And I did not find a ton of books with
Mm-hmm.
characters that looked like me on the
Mm-hmm.
covers.
Mm-hmm.
And I never found a book with a transracial adoptee character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I found books with LGBTQ characters.
Mm-hmm.
So in many ways, I'm trying to write the books that I also needed as a young person
Mm-hmm.
that I
Mm-hmm.
wish I had had in many ways. And so that means diving into some of my own experiences and influences in order to write those.
Yeah, that's wonderful. When did you kind of feel that you were just happy to be you, grateful to be you, and when did you start to feel that? When did that wholeness come in?
Well, I think that's I think that's an ongoing journey.
Hmm.
Um, not to say that I'm not happy to be where I am or don't
Yeah.
experience joy or gratitude for where I am today and who I am, but
Yes,
I
for
think
today.
I oftentimes my daily struggle is to affirm to do affirmation and affirm
I
my
was,
myself
yes.
and also to soothe some of my inner child stuff around not feeling
Hmm.
good enough or not feeling
Worthiness.
worthy or seen. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think, I mean, I really started to feel like, oh, high school was a lot of this is how I need to be in order to be normal.
Hmm. Hmm.
When I got to college, I went to the University of Michigan. I found a spoken word and poetry
Hmm.
community, and I started to compete in poetry slams. And I found my core group of friends who I'm still friends with today, who
Yeah.
became that chosen family that allowed me to then feel accepted for fully and truly who I was, not just the
Hmm.
Mariama who was like, I'm going to get a boyfriend and go to dances and, be
Yeah, well,
normal.
you had to go through that. You
Yeah, to
had to
get
cross
there.
that bridge, yeah, to
Yeah.
get there.
So I think it would be in college that I started to at least feel like, oh, I I can not hide or reject some of these quirky things about myself,
Yeah,
and still be loved and accepted and and cherished too by people around me. And there's
absolutely.
space for my voice and stories and ideas in the world. And I love school and I love learning. And so this is probably why I work for a college of education
Of
now and write
course.
for young people. But yeah, I would say then. And then
Okay.
it's still a daily
That's
practice of
yes, it
working
has to
on
be. And the
worthy.
affirmations. Now, I know I mentioned before that you were in the process of finding your biological parents,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, correct.
Do you have a vision of what that would look like if you found them? What the I know I did, but
Yeah.
what that would feel like and look like, and you know, a fantasy. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, I think as a, I don't know if you'll relate, as a kid, you know, kids used to just say, what if your mom is famous? Like, what if your
Me
mom is
too. I would say that.
Oprah? Or, you know, like, so I think as a kid, I was like, wow, it could be anyone. It could be, you know, anyone.
Yes.
I, so I definitely had those fantasies as a young person,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
fantasies about, you know, I did have fantasies, and about my mom sitting me down and doing my hair, like a black woman doing my hair, of,
Yes.
you know, what did my mother wear to church on Sundays, or,
Yes.
you know, just stuff around beauty, and those everyday routines and rituals that are very specific, I think, to being a black woman, or being
Yes. Yes.
in a black household. And so I had dreams about, fantasies about that growing up. I think as I've gotten older, I've developed more fear around, you know, what if I find them and there's more of a rejection, or what if I find
Mm-hmm.
that they're not alive? And so some of that fear has kept me for a while from looking.
Mm-hmm.
There's also
Mm-hmm.
been some interesting nuances to navigate with adoptive family around, you know, when do you search and why do you search? Um, and I was a private closed adoption, and the agency that I was adopted from has now doesn't exist anymore. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of following a windy breadcrumb trail right now, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to try to find some biological family. But I think as I get older, I get, the fantasy becomes more of like, what if I'm going to miss her? I'm going to miss some connection as I get older.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Um,
I had that. I
yeah,
had that. And I met my biological mother around 31, the
yeah,
age of 31. And I had really hoped that, I had my experience, the faces in church. You go to church, you look around when you're a kid. Does somebody look like me?
look like
Or
me.
who looks like me? Maybe they're looking at me. And maybe it's somebody famous.
Yeah,
But that didn't happen. But I'm so happy that I got to meet both her and my father. I knew when I spoke to her on the phone, there was some hesitancy, like, what do you want?
yes, yeah, yeah.
What do you want from
What do
me?
you want from me?
And yeah, what do you want? And I explained to her, I'm not a drug addict. I do very well, da 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 da. But I know my foster sisters didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah,
And there was, at least with one of them, still a space there that is hurtful, and not knowing, I don't know, not knowing can be worse than, is worse to me than knowing. It could have been anything. They could have said, we don't want, I was prepared for that. I don't want to see you. I'm too busy. Da 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 da. But that didn't happen in my case. So I do hope that you find them,
yeah,
and or at least one of them, and
yeah,
finding extended family and cousins. And I miss the grandparents thing. I would have loved to
yeah.
have had that, and that connection. So I hope you do uh, find that. Now, another thing, do you look at your scars as a gift, if they are scars?
No, that's a great question. I think, and scars. I think I say wounds more than scars. I think, but same thing, around the same thing. Um, I have a hard time with the word gift, um,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but I think that I definitely I have a lot of gratitude for the different intersections that are my identity and that
Mm-hmm.
make up who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think some of the things that I've experienced in life have helped me become a more direct person, a more honest
Mm-hmm.
person. Um, it's not that I'm not afraid. I'm afraid every single day, but I also know that um, that fear often holds you back from things. So
Mm-hmm.
pushing past some of that in order to make connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I don't know if I would say I look at my scars as gifts, but I definitely own them. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't shy away from talking about them, but
Mm-hmm.
also understanding that now, as a young person, maybe my life wasn't in total control, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
dependent on your situation,
Right,
growing
right,
up,
right.
and you get the hand you're dealt, and that's, what you have to work with, and you learn how to survive or thrive or be resilient. I think now I'm more able to look at my wounds or my scars and say, okay, what is in my control, um, to fix or to let go of, um,
Let go of,
let
yes.
go of, and how can I cultivate joy
Mm-hmm.
among the grief and the pain and some of the stuff that's just probably never going to go away for me.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying I don't think I will ever not think about who do I look like when I look in the
Mm-hmm.
mirror, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
every Mother's Day that comes along, every Father's Day when people are posting photos of their beautiful, families and parents, and I can see these friends that I have, and I see, oh, you've got your mom's eyes, or you've got, I think there will always be some grief there, until maybe I finally meet family. But
Mm-hmm.
who knows? I think I will always be struggling to feel like I'm worthy and good enough, even if I logically
Mm-hmm.
know that I
Mm-hmm.
am. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
there's some element of that trauma of being separated from family of origin at birth, um, and some other things from even my adoptive
Mm-hmm.
family that I will have a hard time working through. But yes, I think something that I say to young people when I do workshops or visits to schools or I talk about my books is that I want my books and my stories to affirm that multiple things can be true at the same time, and you can have multiple feelings at the same time. You don't just have
Yes.
to be the happy, grateful, compliant, complacent adoptee or kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can also both find happiness and joy and love in whatever family or chosen family you have, and
Yes, chosen.
also feel deep grief and isolation and aloneness and confusion
Yes.
around something else. And those two things can live side by side, and you don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not disloyal to feel one or the other.
And to feel grace around that, and also to understand that your past is not a life sentence.
No, it's not a life sentence.
It's just every day you get up, you make choices, and some of them work out,
Yep. And
and
some of them don't.
some of them don't. And you got to get up, but you make them. You take the steps at your own pace, but
Yeah.
do take the steps. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much out there. There's so much out there
Yeah.
to grow from and to learn from and to be in community.
Yeah.
So I guess we're coming to a close. What do you feel you want to be remembered for?
Uh, I mean, I write stories. I mean, I would love my to be remembered for um being truthful or telling, realistic stories of not sugarcoating things, but also having um giving some grace and some space for the messy.
Yeah, for the
um,
messy.
for the messy. Um, I would like to be known as someone who lived their life. I don't know, that sounds very, but who, not that
Who's
I'm
brave? Brave.
brave. I am very, it's not that I'm not fearful. I live with
Yes. Feel
panic.
the
I don't live
fear
with
and do it
anxiety,
anyway. Yes.
but someone who didn't, I don't know, who didn't settle and didn't, let things pass by or not try things because it felt too scary or too hard. And I might do it on my own time, and I might I will and have made mistakes or
Yes.
turns, or but yeah, and also a person who was connected and built community. I would love to be remembered for that. It's also weird to think about being remembered, but I think, I mean, I'll be honest, I do think some part of me is a writer, because I would like, because it's something tangible, right? Like the idea of kids
Yes.
years from now finding my books, even if it's in a digital library,
Right, right, right,
um,
right.
and leaving that type of a legacy. That
Mm-hmm.
is important to me,
Mm-hmm.
to leave hopefully a little piece of something that can be affirming and validating to someone who needs it. in the way that I needed it growing up as well would be a big thing.
Well, Mariama, I want to thank you for your bravery, for being brave to share your story here. And we touched on some of the things, but there's so
So
much.
much.
I might have to bring you back
I'd be happy to come back.
to fill out the rest of it, because there's just so much. But I thank you for your bravery, and for youth out there, adults out there who are feeling some of these feelings. Read the books. We're going to put all that in the end, but find the books if you have children who need to hear this. And I know we don't have my audience is not teens, and I would love it to be, but it's about the adults. We need mentors. We need to have a community. And I thank you for being the CEO today and bringing this conversation, this education, and the outreach to all of us. You are a blessing, just a blessing, and I appreciate you very, very much. So be well.
Thank you. Thank you so
Be
much.
well, and
It's
enjoy
really
all the flowers you're going to get in life
Oh,
and have gotten. Yes.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
appreciate and love the work you're doing as well. So
All
thank you.
right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. So that was Mariama, and I know there are a lot of us out there who have felt a lot of these feelings. So read the book, look at this show over and over again. And I want to say I thank you all again for being here, for watching. I thank you for the support, for the community, and everything. Be well, stay blessed, and have an awesome life.